Hello, hello. How are you out there? I am just so excited to come to you. We've had a little bit of a break, but we are back and very excited. I would love to share with you that I was invited to speak for the Urban Land Institute, the ULI, which had its annual fall conference here in Chicago. And as an emerging developer, it was such an honor to be able to speak to the Entertainment Development Council. I mean, it was like a dream come true. I'm Sadia Davis. I'm your producer and host for this evening of Reel to Reel podcast. We started this because it occurred to us that there's so many cool stories, as you know, with filmmakers and intellectual property, which represents the REEL. But then working as an emerging developer, and at this point I should just call myself a developer, I've started to identify some of the coolest people who have really a lot of information to share with you, how they got involved in the business. And speaking last week for the the Entertainment Development Council, there was over $50 billion worth of projects in a room of only 35 people. So this world is untapped in the sense of bringing some of the stories and narratives to you. I specifically focus on entertainment development. It's very fun. So whether that's venues, there are stadiums, sports, this is a really cool niche within development. So I wanted to say thank you to the Urban Land Institute and the Entertainment Development Council, Kevin Reiger, for inviting me. The other thing that I just wanted to catch you up on is I wrote a book. I did, yep, 33 Ways Not to Screw Up Creative Entrepreneurship. And I did this because in the process of being an entrepreneur and a creative at that, there are some tips, tools, and techniques that can absolutely help you on your journey as a creative. So again, feel free to check it out on Amazon.com. It's, there for you and for your taking. All I ask is for a very small but honest review. So anyways, we've got a lot to get to tonight. I'm very excited. Kayla Jones, our technical producer, is here with us. Hey, Kayla.
Hello, hello.
So we have a unique opportunity because today we're interviewing our featured guest, Amber Eswanihas. And Kayla, tell us a little bit about how you know her. You've worked with her.
Oh, yes, I have worked with the amazing Amber Eswanihas. I met Amber a few years ago when I was doing some work with Free Spirit Media, and I was one of the producers of that year's cohort, and Amber was a student in the cohort. And it was just an amazing experience to watch along with Amber. All of the students get hands-on experience and learn and grow and learn how to pitch their projects. And Amber's project was selected to be produced, and it was just a great time. So I'm really excited to have her on the show today.
Yeah, I actually had the fortune of being there for the screening of her movie Fuzzy Legs. And I got to tell you, I mean, when we talk about talent, whether it's writers, directors, if you are making your own film, right? These are such incredible opportunities to share with an audience. And now that people are going back into the public to real theaters, I was fortunate to run into Amber last week at the Chicago International Film Festival. And if you've not checked out the Chicago International Film Festival, I recommend that not only do you do it, but you become a member so you can take advantage of some of their working days where film people, I guess everything from scoring, writers, directors, actors from some of the films that are showcasing for the year in that 2-week period, they all descend on Chicago. And it's a great opportunity to meet people, network, and I ran into Amber. So let's get started and talk to Amber. So Amber wrote, directed, and co-produced Fuzzy Legs through the Free Spirit Media InPathways Cohort program. She has been a production assistant for TV shows like The Chi, Fargo, and Chicago Fire. Amber has worked on numerous creative projects in film, video, and special events. in Chicago and beyond. She received her Bachelor's of Arts from Southern Illinois University of Carbondale in radio, television, and digital media. Let's take a look at her work.
And you think shaving your legs will solve all of your problems?
Yes. No, maybe, I don't know, but it'll help.
No, it won't, Amina.
Hey, welcome, Amber. So happy to have you.
Thanks for having me on the show. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, well, you know, it's kind of a unique opportunity that our technical producer, Kayla, worked with you on that particular film. Tell us a little bit about you and what inspired Fuzzy Legs.
Yeah, so my name is Amber Eswanihas. I'm a writer and director from Chicago. I've grown up in Illinois, been here like almost my whole life. I've been interested in the arts since I was little, and it slowly evolved into film when I got into high school, and then I studied it. And then I've been like, since I graduated from college, it's in Carbondale, so it's 6 hours away. So I was just trying to network for a while. And so I've been around in all various different Chicago productions, film festivals, corporate events, different types of media related projects all around, because I'm trying to like learn the different aspects of different productions and seeing what I like in it, what I want to bring to my own productions. And then Fuzzy Legs was a project I made in the Free Spirit Media Cohort program, which I was interviewed for and was selected for, and went through a whole pitching process that Kayla had mentioned. And that was inspired from after I graduated from college, I just had the urge to make something of my own, because I made a lot of documentaries in college. And I wanted to make my own project that was a narrative. And so I was like, what's something short and simple that I can write that is digestible and I can make like quickly and with like a decent sized budget that I won't need tons of money to make. And that was Fuzzy Legs. Yeah.
Oh, that's really, I mean, you just dropped some pearls, right? You said you had a budget to consider, timing, and something you wanted to be concise and get it. That's really wonderful. I was going to ask, and think about it before the end, I'm going to ask you 3 things that you would share with our audience. So as a reminder to our audience and those of you who are watching us, feel free to send us a question, or, you know, we'll pull up your information from the chat, even if it's just a shout out for Amber. So yeah, I mean, Kayla, this is just such a great opportunity. How many years ago did you guys work together?
This was in 2018. Yep, 2018.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, Amber, if you could elaborate a little bit more on the story, like the inspiration of the story and what the story is about.
Yeah, so the story is about a Pakistani American girl who starts her first day of middle school, and she goes to gym class, and she has hairy legs, and she gets teased for it. So she has to figure out if she wants to do something about it or not, and if it has to do with her American culture, her Pakistani culture, or if it's just a beauty standard she has to figure out for herself. And so that was inspired by like my own experience growing up. I'm Pakistani American, and like body hair was an issue that people like picked on you for it. And it seemed like as I was making this project, a lot of other girls went through it and they never talked about it. So I was like, this is great. Like no one's ever talked about this, and it's like a issue that happens to a lot of women growing up, and it's just like something that's like really simple but like causes it's like an issue women go through, and it's just like something that needed to be addressed, and I'm glad we were able to make our project.
Well, you know, speaking of that, you know, as a filmmaker, it's one of those things that you realized something, you shared it, and it was a narrative that impacted others in a positive way. And I think that's brilliant in showing how you are aware, right, of what is viable, what matters, and there you found was a market. And the greatest part of that kind of work is that you then open a dialogue and a conversation for people to learn, feel free to be themselves, and to sort of demystify any, issues that people had before. So that's really great. Speaking of fuzzy legs, though, tell us where it is now. Like you mentioned, I want to hear more about you working with the different productions that are here in Chicago. And I think you may have mentioned that somebody actually saw Fuzzy Legs. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so over the course of the past few years, like I've worked for The Shy as a locations production assistant. I've worked for Fargo as a COVID production assistant, and most recently I've worked for Chicago Fire as an office production assistant. And during my time with Chicago Fire, we had our like little cubicles and our shield to like protect ourselves from like when we had our mask off and we're working, from like, whatever germs from spreading. So I put my little poster of Fuzzy Legs in my shield so like people could walk by and see my poster, like self-promotion in the office, whatever. And then I had it up for a couple months, and then the director and executive producer finally like saw it one day. He's like, I know that director, where can I watch it? And I sent him a link, and then I reminded him after a couple months, and he finally watched it, and he was like, oh my god, this is great, like what do you want to do? And I was like, I told him I want to write and direct. And then another couple months later, while I was on the season, I shadowed him for 2 days on set. And that was like the most amazing experience that I could have. Like I would have wanted to shadow him like the whole episode, but I still had to work. But it was amazing, and like not only did he watch it, but other directors from the show watched it, ADs, and like another executive producer. So like they saw the talent in me, and I was like, I need to work on my craft more.
Absolutely.
So that's where I'm at.
But I think it's great that, call it marketing, call it organic marketing and promoting that. It doesn't even sound like that was your intention, but for those listening, it's okay, right? For individuals to see what you do. This is why we created Reel to Reel, for people to understand that we are producers, we have lives, and we continue to create whether or not you see us or not. And in this case, a couple of things, you were working a production during COVID, and you had COVID compliance screens, which is great. That's very informative for people who are watching, but that's really okay, to put a little, not only a marketing piece up that's a reminder of your craft, right? Call it an affirmation. It drew in some interesting people who wanted to know. Now, can you mention the person that you shadowed?
Yeah, it was Reza Tabrizi. He was he's the director and executive producer for Chicago Fire. Yeah, he's really great.
Nice. Well, thank you, Kayla. I know you've got some of the technical producing. Kayla's going to jump out and join us back at the end here. Thank you so much for sharing in this conversation with us, Kayla.
All right. I'll see you on the other side.
Good seeing you, Kayla.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the films that you've been working on. So there's a film that we're going to show. So just set it up and tell me a little bit about it.
Okay.
So the film is, let's see, I'm trying to remember the name of it, but the first one.
The Premature Burial.
Yeah, talk to us a little bit about it before we show it.
Okay. Yeah, so that was a project that I had made in college that I had directed and was the production designer for, and it was based off of Edgar Allan Poe story. And I basically wanted to showcase my like spooky creative side, because I'm currently I've written a short paranormal that I want to get into production. So I just want to showcase my paranormal and spooky side of directing versus the coming of age film that I just showed the trailer for.
Very cool. So let's take a look.
Hello, sir. So based off of the samples we took last week and what you told us, I'm afraid I'm going to have to diagnose you with catalepsy. It's a form of schizophrenia that takes place while you sleep, causes your muscles to lock up. To others, it may look like
the most horrifying stories in history,
very much alive.
the most intense and delicately prolonged tortures are too shocking for most fiction. But the truth, the reality of the most horrifying details, is what really excites. Day 1. Catalepsy. A medical condition characterized by trance or seizure with a loss of sensation and consciousness accompanied by rigidity of the body. That is what the doctors say I have. For lack of a better, more definitive term. This condition has no known cure or complete diagnosis, so I will keep up this blog to tell everyone about my illness. Day 2.
Okay, so that was so weird in a good way, right? Like, I'm almost curious about the actor, you know, and not to say that you were part of the casting, but it's the way it moves. It's not necessarily staccato, but the lighting, all of it. Talk to us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so I made that in a lighting course. So we were very specific about like using like background, like lighting in the background. We were very like specific. We were very detailed about the lighting because it was a lighting project and that's what we're getting graded on. And then the actor was actually a part of our group. And as his performance goes on, like he gets more and more rigid, and like I just like gave him I had to give him really interesting directions to get into it and feel like he's getting more and more frozen into this character. And yeah. Sorry. I'm trying to think more about what it was like doing that. Yeah, but if you watch the rest of the project, it's on YouTube. You'll see some more creepy lighting that is shown throughout the film, and like they're very informative.
Well, you know, I mean, I love it. It's just so great. I mean, here's the thing, Amber. You know, when we look at the rest of the films that we're going to play through, I said to Kayla, I was like, this is kind of cool. Like the last film we're going to show is kind of spooky, and we're going to let it ride for a little bit. And it's like just in time for Halloween, right? Like, who knew that this episode for us, episode 8, would definitely line up with Halloween. So I appreciate your direction because we got it, right? Now you talked a little bit about doing events. I too myself am producing a pretty major event in December, and I understand the value of what that is, right? It's one thing to produce and create a narrative on screen. It's something else to then do so in a live experience. So talk a little bit about the live entertainment piece we're going to share.
Yeah, so San Cisco, that's a band that filmed here in Chicago. We filmed here in Chicago. That was for a program I was a part of in college called Alt News 2646, which is a magazine-style documentary show. And so that was my first segment ever, actually, like doing my own, producing my own segment for them. So it was very interesting because I had reached out to them like months before their concert, and then they finally, like their manager finally responded like a night or two before their performance. And so I had to ask my friend from Carbondale, hey, can you drive up this equipment to Chicago and help me film this segment, and ask people to come last second, because I didn't think it was going to happen. And then it happened, and we were able to get a decent segment out of it.
Nice. And I love that because you're speaking about things that are happening on the fly. In fact, I just want to acknowledge we had George Daniels. Thank you so much. He said, hi there. Very informative. George is an incredible historian of music, phenomenal celebrity in his own right. And so thank you, George, for watching us. If there's anybody else out there that has a question or a comment for Amber, we look forward to it. So let's take a look at San Francisco. How do you say it? Because I'm from San Francisco. So I'm like, wait, what's it called?
Just San Cisco.
San Cisco. Yeah, let's take a look.
Hi, I'm Scarlett.
I'm Geordie.
I'm Josh.
I'm Nick. And we are San Cisco.
We met
Being in Fremantle, I guess, where we live. Us three boys went to school together, and Scarlett went to another school, but she's always been around.
And yeah, then we just started playing songs together. We did a recording, and the three of us, without Nick, and then we had to play a show down south in WA, and so we got Nick to play bass guitar, and then it's just been like that ever since.
We had a few different names, a few different contenders, put them up on the Facebook page and let people decide.
All 75 of our followers.
Yeah, we just asked them. It's called Gracetown, and it's a place in WA, in the south. It's about mainly...
So yeah, I mean, that's great. You know, one of the things that I think is really cool about that is you had the interview, then you had the music that played through from the concert behind them. So we'll talk a little bit about that, because I want to make sure we get to this last clip.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of just like the format I guess we had for concerts, because we did quite a few concert segments, and so I was just trying to transition between make clean transitions in between like them speaking and the concert, and just like make sure you're able to hear the dialogue and what they're talking about, and that it like aligns with what they're portraying in the show.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's subtle, right? But it spotlights your talent. You know, it's one thing to do a narrative film like what we saw with Fuzzy Legs and Premature, but with this, it's more of like what a documentary could look like, right? So it shows a breadth of your work. So I want to show this last clip because it's a little bit paranormal. So let's take a look and we'll talk about it on the other side.
Okay.
Oh, who's here? Holy shit.
You can actually capture spirit in this. And if you got one in here, it'll start shaking and growling and that sort of thing. And then you can take it, release it somewhere else.
Are there any dark energies here that would like to speak?
It's called a devil box. Oh, that's a creepy mirror there. That mirror is well over 100 years old. Did you do that?
Is it my alarm clock?
That's what it is.
When you look into the history, a lot of times you'll find a mystery associated with it. And if you're lucky enough, you'll find a haunting that goes along with the mystery. So that's where the Little Egypt Ghost Society comes in. The Little Egypt Ghost Society is a ghost hunter group formed right here in Southern Illinois. Started in 2007. Kale, Meggs, and I started the venture. We were really interested in local history. We're basically historians, and we like to go on road trips. So That's how we started the group.
Bruce has been doing it a lot longer than me. He did something he called the Gaslight Ghoul Club. And when they were little kids, they used to run around in the cemeteries and play little games. And yeah, he's been doing it a lot longer than I have. He considers himself the longest standing ghost hunting society in the state of Illinois, at least. So.
We started in 1967, really long time ago, back when I was in grade school. Back then, there's a TV show called Dark Shadows. They had witches and ghosts, werewolves, and all kinds of other supernatural entities. And we'd meet in my backyard treehouse, tell ghost stories, and try to figure out how we could turn into a werewolf or a vampire. Kale?
Oh my God. I'm like, ah. Wow. You know, like I said, this segment happens to be in time for Halloween.
Yeah.
You were a director of photography, a DP on that one. Talk to us a little bit about that. There were some really cool shots in there.
Yeah, so we interviewed them both in different places. One was in the at the subject's house, and the other one was like at his what's it called? Like the I'm blanking on the name, like the
not an office or
not an office. It was like one of those. I'm blanking on it right now, but he had like some peculiar job that he had that it was like one of those rooms where you had to go and like look through things and figure out clues. I'm blanking on
like forensics or some kind of like investigative work, or I don't know. But anyway,
escape room. He worked at an escape room. That's the word.
What?
Yeah. So we interviewed him at his escape room. We just had like a 2-camera setup, one like in front, one on a side angle. And then some of the clips, like we filmed them going into a cemetery, and some of them were like clips from past work that they've had that we use. Like, so the clips in the star were like, oh, is this an alarm clock? That was like footage that they had from before that they filmed that we used interspliced with what we had filmed of them in person.
Nice. So, you know, one of the things that I love about this is you are no longer in college. Okay. You are for hire. And I want to make that clear. You know, we're rolling your lower thirds for people to understand how to follow your work, how to engage with you. One thing that I think is really tremendous about you, Amber, is that, you have a perspective and it's unique too. And so that's really exciting for individuals. I think that last clip, it was just so clean, right? Like it was clear. There were images that you guys cut to of books, and yet it was able, we were able to see it. So let's see, we have another comment. Let's see what it says. Oh, cool. Escape.
It's an escape room.
Yes.
Oh, she knew.
Wow, Callie, is this someone that you're familiar with?
No,
I am. Hi, Callie. It's so great to see you. Thank you so much for taking an opportunity to check out Amber. Her work is incredible. So, Amber, I mentioned earlier, in terms of providing, I would say 3 tips, right? I would say a tip as a production assistant. What's the key thing that you would think would be of value to someone who's a production assistant? 2, as a director, give a tip that somebody can apply that you've found in your process as a director. And then 3, you decide. It can be anything.
Yeah. So as a production assistant, you have to like read the room. You have to be able to read what people want and need, and like kind of foretell what they're gonna need. Like if someone's like, if someone's like coughing, like you realize that they're thirsty and you have to come and bring them water like before they even ask for it. Like you just have to read the room and make sure you're like on your toes like all the time, and like make sure like you're paying attention and you're listening to what's happening and like not zoned out. And then also just be helpful and like help people and be nice to them and ask them how they're doing, because like it's long days, like you're there to help everyone essentially. And then for directing, I feel like something that I learned was to let the piece breathe and give it more space in between cuts and like let people sit in their emotions when they're acting something out, like let themselves like really feel that space. And when I was directing, like for my project, Mina, the main character, she actually hadn't acted a lot before I had her on my project, and she was like the appropriate. She was the appropriate race, like Pakistani, and all the other folks that I had come in for casting were of different descent, and she had the least experience, but I felt like I could pull something out of her and really work with her. And like I feel like you don't, like, if you're trying to make content for like certain ethnicities, you have to be open-minded that there's not a lot of actors in those like in those fields, or like you have to help bring them up with you as you're growing, because they don't get a lot of opportunities. And while you're making your own content, you have to give those opportunities to other people while you're learning. You can build and grow your craft together in that process. And then thirdly, when you're networking, you can network a lot with a lot of people, but make sure you know what direction you want to go into and which people you want to build with, and pay attention to that. And like, if you know there's certain people you want to work with, just remember the characteristics that you want to bring to your productions and look out for that in different people. And like, if someone isn't like, they're like, oh, that's cool, but I don't think we would jive, maybe you can help on something else.
Oh, Amber, you are dropping knowledge. Oh my God. I'm just like, she's deep, man. She's deep. We have a comment that says, really enjoying the podcast. The energy is great. Thank you, KP. I mean, I have to touch on a couple of things. One, reading the room. As a former production assistant, that's how I started. I started as a PA in Los Angeles, and you're right. You are there to serve, to help, be humble. And when people are, like you said, Amber, they're long days, people's tempers might rise. Doesn't mean yours has to, right? Listening, key. You guys might think that these are all like little things, but they're gems and they're pearls. The other thing is when you said working with someone of a different descent, giving them an opportunity, and knowing that as a director, you could pull from that actor what you needed. So it's giving somebody a shot that maybe wouldn't get a shot. That's huge, right? I am so happy that you joined us. Amber is obviously a tremendous, insightful, particular, in a good way. Like, details are so important. We've got another great work, Amber. I want to share the comments, because everything that you're saying tonight, it's really important that we shine a light on creative entrepreneurs, but specifically this podcast is for anyone in the film area or the development of entertainment spaces in real estate. And you have just provided some great wisdom that will live on this channel. So thank you so much, Amber. Is there anything else that you want to say before we say goodbye? Let's bring Kayla back. Kayla, I mean, she's dropping knowledge. She's like, I mean, thank goodness to Free Spirit Media and everywhere else, but Amber's like making stuff happen on her own now, so.
Yes, Amber, I have to say that I am so proud of you, and just seeing how your journey has progressed from the time that I met you. I did just have a little question, like, what from the Fuzzy Leg experience, what's one quick takeaway that you got from that experience?
It takes a lot to make a production happen, and it takes a lot out of you. Like, it was a very personal story, and I was like, I wanted to make a web series about similar topics. So I was like, let me step back and see what the message, what's the next message that I'm meant to say that is appropriate to the times. And I feel like what I'm working on right now, I wrote a short film. I'm putting into pre-production. I'm trying to figure out how to put that together, and I feel like that message is appropriate with what I want to say and what I want to say as a storyteller.
Nice.
So.
Nice. Well, we will be here if you need anything. We've got resources. Again, we have shared your contact information. I encourage individuals to share this podcast with others, and especially individuals they know that can advance Amber, right? And lifting this storyteller, because she clearly has intention behind what she produces as a writer and a director. And so thank you so much. And we've got one more excited person, Jims. Yes. Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much, Amber. Thank you, Kayla, for holding us down as our technical producer.
Thank you both for having me on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you, Amber. I mean, listen, you guys, the beauty of this kind of engagement in talking to real people about real intellectual property, real entertainment development, but just real stuff, really makes a difference. It makes a difference in everybody's lives who are interested in these topics. I hope and encourage you to share this, because Amber dropped some real gems. I'm so proud of her. And she mentioned something about networking, which I think is really important. Relationships matter. Identifying something in someone else that you want to have in your crew, or how do you show up for others? I'm Sadia Davis. I'm so excited to bring Real to Real podcast to you. We'll see you soon.